What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, and it's time to take it home, people. We're taking it home with another grab bag of depth linebackers the Seahawks could sign this offseason. Again, these are all players that would cost. I can't imagine any of these guys would cost more than $3 million. I don't think any of them are going to cost more than $2 million, and they're there to be backups and special teamers and reserves. I think you guys know the drill by now. So these are the guys that you sign because you already have your starters in place, or you plan on putting your starters in place in the draft. So let's go through the options. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on any one guy because all these guys are pretty, in terms of overall quality, they're all pretty ubiquitous. It's just a matter of who you think fits and what road you want to go down in a general sense. Do you want an older player? Do you want a younger player? Do you want a proven player? Do you want an unproven but potential laden player? That's the real question. So let's go ahead and take a look at these guys. First guy we're going to take a look at in this video is Neville Hewitt of the Houston Texans. Spent a career playing mostly reserve roles in New York, Miami, and now Houston. He did start quite a bit in New York, but for the most part, he has started sporadically. Did actually play a decent amount of football last year in Houston. Started 4 games, played in all 17. So that's pretty good. That's there's something to be said for that. Pro Football Focus thought he played well last year. Again, I take that with a grain of salt, but they gave him a 70. That's not meaningless. And 350 snaps is also a decent sample size. So Neville Hewitt going to be on the table as a quality backup. He is getting older, so the contract they put on him is 1.4 million. That's what they estimate him being worth, which I think that at his age, that's probably fair. He's at the point now where he should be declining. So you don't want to invest big and long term in a guy who's probably declining. Next is Christian Rozeboom of the LA Rams. This is a little bit of a younger guy. Started 11 games last year, so it's not like he's never been a starter. But for the most part in his career, he's been a backup. And I don't think this is a guy you would sign intending to start. Pro Football Focus thought he was a little below average last year, but adequate, workable. Just not really somebody you would be that excited to start. He did play a lot. He did play over 820 snaps, so there's a good sample size to work with here. And Spotrac doesn't have a market value page for him, but I don't think whatever deal he gets would be radically different than the 1 year 1.4 he just got. Maybe you push it up to like 2.5 at most. Personally, I think it's more likely going to be somewhere around 1.5, but he did play fairly well in 2024. So we'll see what happens here. I guess there's a little bit of upside here. He's only 28, but realistically, I don't think there's going to be a big market for this guy. He's not somebody who has draft pedigree or anything like that. Another guy would be Anthony Walker. Anthony Walker, the inside linebacker from. Sorry about that, guys. I had to answer my phone, but Anthony Walker would be the next guy I look at here. This is one of the veterans who, at this point, I think has settled into kind of a reserve role in the NFL, if anything. He's hit 30. He hasn't really been a notable player for the last year or so. He has been a starter throughout much of his career, so I guess there's some starter upside here. You can see that he played for the Colts, the Browns, and now the Dolphins, and every place he's been at least some of the time a starter. But I think those days are probably past. Pro Football Focus thought he was one of the worst linebackers in the league last year for the Dolphins, 48. They did like him the previous year, 71.1. Now, it's Pro Football Focus. I don't think they're very good at the linebacker stuff, but, 450 snaps, it's a decent sample size. And this guy does have a reputation for being a pretty decent player. But despite that, he's never really been able to get the money. Like last year, the contract he got with the Dolphins was pretty much veteran minimum, 1.4 million. So I don't think that would change. If he got 1.4 million last year, I don't think he'd get more than 1.4 million this year. So you could get him at that price, and he's definitely somebody you'd feel okay about as a backup. Amen Ogbongbemiga. And I believe this is a guy that the Seahawks had in an offseason 1 year, and then they didn't end up keeping him. So if I recall correctly, this guy was on the team previously for a cup of coffee, basically. But he's never been a starter in his career. He started 2 games with the Chargers in his rookie year, I guess, but he's a career backup guy. He's somebody who plays special teams. He's somebody who is, he's just a guy. He's very forgettable, but there is value out there for a player like this. Not that it means anything, but his PFF grade was pretty good last year, I guess. 15 snaps on defense. He's a special teamer. So there's not a lot to say here. Exciting. You'd get him cheap according to Spotrac. They have a market value page for him at 1.2 million, basically the minimum. So you can't really go too wrong with 1.2 million on a special teamer. At worst, he's that, and you're getting your money's worth. If he does somehow have starter upside, which I seriously doubt, although it is worth noting he's about to turn 27, then great. You've done amazing for yourself. Next guy would be Troy Reeder, another former Ram player. And this guy's been injured a pretty good amount lately, but has had moments of playing pretty extensively for the Rams. Also spent a year with the Chargers in 2022, I guess, but he didn't really play that much that year. His days of being a starter are mostly behind him. Like, he started quite a bit in 2020 and 2021, 2019, that era. The rookie deal with the Rams, basically. And since then, over the last 3 seasons, he started a total of 12 games. Most recent year, 2024, is the year where he played the most. PFF grade is a little below average in 2024. It's okay. The year before that, he was really bad, one of the worst ranked linebackers in the league, but it's only 200 snaps. So he's a backup. He shouldn't be somebody you look at as a starter. If you sign this guy, it better be because you have some other plan at the starting linebacker spots, and this guy's just there to be a backup and a special teamer. No market value page for him, but he's going to get, like, the vet min again. It's going to be like 1.2 million for him, I think. And I can't imagine anybody giving him any more than that. So 1 year, 1.2 million for Troy Reeder. You can't go too wrong with it, but it's not radically interesting. He is going to turn 31 when the season starts, more or less. So he's already kind of over the hill. He's already past his prime in all likelihood. Oren Burks, really interesting one to me here. I actually really like Oren Burks, 3rd-round pick formerly. Been in the league a while now, bounced around a bit, but he's generally been effective in most places he's landed. He spent 4 years with Green Bay, 2 years with San Fran, and then he's currently on the Eagles. So wherever he's gone, teams have had great success. I'm not saying it's because of him, but the Packers were making deep playoff runs and putting together 13, 14 win seasons when he was there for the most part. San Fran had back-to-back NFC title appearances and a Super Bowl appearance, and now he might be about to win the Super Bowl tomorrow. So Oren Burks, nice little career here. And generally speaking, it seems like he's been good. I mean, Pro Football Focus likes him a lot. 83 grade this last year on 150 snaps. The previous year in San Fran, when they went to the Super Bowl, 300 snaps, more than 300, 71.3. So PFF does like him for whatever we take that to mean. Seems like he's a pretty decent player as a backup. He never really gets paid. Maybe that changes this offseason. There's no market value page for him, but he's coming off a year where he got the veteran minimum from the Eagles. I could see him getting a little bit more than that. He is about to turn 30, though, so you're not going to invest heavily in a guy like that when he's never been a full-time starter in his career. So I can't imagine it going up above 2 million at this point. So yeah, this would be one of my favorite options if you're looking for a pure quality backup linebacker. Next guy we're going to look at here would be Devondre Campbell, the quitter. You want to get the quitter. This is definitely going to be an offseason where you're not going to have to spend a lot to get him. His days of being a really good linebacker are in the rear view mirror, and the days of any team that has a brain trusting him with anything more than the veteran minimum is also behind him. He did make an all-pro team in 2021. He was considered one of the best linebackers in the league, but those days are gone. I doubt he works in the NFL again, but if he does, then you're going to get him cheap. So that's cool, I guess. And hopefully you can at least get a couple games out of him before he quits again. So, if you can at least get that, then you'll get your money's worth because it's not going to be much money. And Pro Football Focus, while they don't think he played good, they thought he played adequately. again, I don't want to ascribe a ton of meaning to the Pro Football Focus grades on linebackers, but it does seem like, despite his reputation preceding him as being a terrible player, he's not actually a terrible player. He's just a little below average. And he played most of the season, so it's a decent sample size. It's not like it's only a few hundred snaps even. And Spotrac, no market value paid for him, probably because there's no way anybody actually gives him more than the veteran minimum. At this point, he's about to turn 32 anyway, so there's no point. But yeah, if you want the quitter, you can get the quitter. I don't think there's going to be a bidding war here. Final guy, and this one's kind of fun because it would be a homecoming. Jack Thompson. Jack Thompson, former Washington Husky, about to turn 31, entering a different phase of his career. Probably needs to settle for a backup and special team role at this point. He's played 6 combined games over the last 2 years. They've tried to make him a starter in Carolina. He spent his whole career in Carolina, and it seems like he's kind of hit the wall. He was somebody who played a lot of games in prior seasons. This was a guy who was starting on the Panthers team that went to the Super Bowl in 2015, and it seems like he's just kind of hit the wall here. He's, again, 4 games last year, 2 games the year before. Not much you can take away from it. And now he's on the wrong side of 30. You've probably gotten to the point where he needs to accept that he's either a backup or he's not really a player in the NFL anymore. And, there's nothing wrong with that. He's not that far removed from a pretty okay season in 2022, I guess, but he can't stay on the field. So, homecoming for Shaq Thompson, it's an interesting idea. Not that we're going to take a lot from this, but Pro Football Focus thinks that when he does play, he still plays okay. And you shouldn't need much more than this. You signed Shaq Thompson to be a backup, a reserve player, and you're not planning on playing him a ton of games this year. Now, Spotrac does have a market value page for him, but they put him at 1 year, 1 million. I don't think you can give him 1 year, 1 million. Unless I'm wrong, there's a minimum for a player with 10 years of experience, and it's like 1.4 or 1.5. So I don't think you can give Shaq Thompson 1 million flat. Now, whatever you give him is not going to be much at this point. He's going to be lucky to stay in the NFL because he struggles to stay on the field so much. But I don't think you can give him 1 year, 1 million unless there's a special qualifier for a player that has missed so many games over the last 2 years. What are we talking about here? He's played 6 games out of 34. He's missed 28 games. Maybe they make an exception for a player like that. I don't know. But to my knowledge, you'd have to give him at least 1.4. But either way, you're getting a player with some talent and a lot of experience. And if he can stay healthy for you, he might even be able to fill in as a decent starter. But just how much are you going to trust a guy who's played so little football the last couple years? All right, that's it. Now, to say that's it is not entirely accurate. You could go through this list on Spotrac here and find guys that we didn't look at that would probably be no better or worse than anybody that we did look at during this series. Like, a guy like a Demetrius Flanagan Fowles is probably about as good as Amen Abong Bemiga. A guy like Camus Grugri or Hill is probably not any better or worse than some of the guys we looked at. Guys like Jake Martin, guys, I think you guys get what I'm getting at here. There are a ton of guys who are in this tier of free agent linebacker, but I don't want to spend all day going through every single one of them because let's face it, they all blend together. And if you haven't already found some depth guy that you like in the last 16 guys that we looked at in this video and the previous one, then you're not going to find the guy you like. He doesn't exist. All right, I'll see you guys later. Maybe one more video today. We'll see. Go Hawks. Have a good day.